Marry me and welcome to Lux Dragon Queen Magic. I'm Taylor and today is our collective Divine Feminine reading. So let's go ahead and just dive right into it. This is going to be not only for those who identify as Divine Femme, but also for anyone and everyone who's looking to balance the energies between the masculine and feminine. So here we are. Starting off right off the course, we do only have one card. I know in the recent Divine Masculine we had two come up, but for us we are only going to have one, and it's Sarah Lakali, Queen of the Outsiders. I have arrived. I am where I will always be, in love. So something very beautiful that is coming up between these readings that I mentioned in the last Divine Masculine reading is that we're really having a lot of the Christian faith come through, and this is actually echoing this. So there are three main stories that are with Sarah. So I would encourage you to actually look up those stories, and depending upon the one that you find, something may really resonate with you. But no matter where you find yourself, you are going to see that she can be a representation of, I would say she is a very good representation of the Maiden. So that's really the energy that we're having come through right now, which is very good. I would say, because I would say recently the Divine Femme has felt more like in their crone stage, like in this stage of isolation past the point of connection. And so instead, Sarah Lakali is coming out to really remind everyone here that, one, you are so connected to love that you are in fact love. Like wherever you are, there is in fact love, especially within yourself. And then that is what shines out from within you. And so that is just something that is a part of you. And then something too coming with her is like the Queen of Outsiders. So it's like this interesting stage development where you have been able to become the maiden, the mother, or the queen, and the crone, or the teacher. And so right now, the main thing that I want to get out before we just go ahead and jump into the rest of these cards here is, sorry, there's a lot coming through. She's like so powerful, and she just like wants you to know that you are in this very loving energy, not lovable, loving energy, because it literally is like you are just so loving, like you are just constantly loving yourself, and it forces others to love themselves as well, is kind of like what we're seeing come through. And then there's just like this like I feel like within your community, like there's just this very like open loving communication kind of is what you are really trying to perpetrate for everyone around you. But to get back to the main point I wanted to say is that we do have the maiden aspect coming out. So it's not that you are at the beginning and becoming a brand new maiden. It is that you are remembering that you are also this aspect of the Divine Feminine. So again, I really encourage you. I'm getting the sense that looking into her story is going to be more important for you to complete individually. So I'm really being like held back in commenting on so much of her story. And just like I'm hearing like the rabbit hole that you take by looking into her and who she is and how she came to be is going to be like so important to you. And it might actually lead you to do some other research, or it might remind you of some other things that you've run across in throughout the course of your life. And Spirit is wanting you to do this because it's going to highlight certain patterns and motifs that need to be addressed at this time. Okay. So yes, we're going to leave that there, and we're going to go ahead and move right on. And so if you watch the Divine Masculine, these are the same deck as always, but I do have it in a different order, right? We just go based off our intuition, and this is how they came out. So we're starting with the Dragons and Other Rare Magical Creatures deck. And so for you, we have Reanimated Drake. We have Petty or Mean. Okay. So very interesting that this is coming out for us right after that card. So ultimately what's coming out for me in regards to this card is it's more of a warning, like be careful about times when you're being petty or mean. Be careful about like recognizing just where this is coming from, because sometimes it can beget more of it. So if you're noticing like maybe within your community, like I had mentioned, maybe that you want to promote like free loving conversation, maybe that isn't actually something that's happening in your community. So something coming through from Spirit is like, then just don't talk to those people. Like you can always speak with love. You do not need to come down to their level. Yeah, I just heard, because like a reanimated Drake, you could almost say like it's a different way of coming back to life rather than going through the full recycle and rebirth that you have gone through. So that's kind of something interesting coming through. So there might be someone, especially within your spiritual community, who maybe has a lot of practice, a lot of spirituality, is very connected, but they still have this just certain pettiness or meanness to them. And Spirit is kind of wanting you to be aware of that, and just not to shame them or judge them for that, but remember that you are always in love. I have arrived. I am where I will always be, in love. And so with that, as you maintain standing in love, those people who feel those negative feelings, they will need to meet you in love in order to have that conversation. So you're like constantly on, like, in the common ground space is what I'm feeling. Okay, and so we do have another. And so we have Crested Griffin, Adventure. So very interesting that this is coming out. So something that I will share about Sarah Lakali's story is that no matter what, there is a certain sense of like the adventure after the storm. So, or if you're in a hero's journey, like the road back mentality. And so there's still certain setbacks, but it's this adventure of saying like, oh, look, I've got the golden egg and it's now time. Wow. It is now time to travel back to where I just came from in order to share that with everyone. And so you're used to being on the outside, right? Queen of the outsiders. So that energy is still within you. So that's why it's such an adventure to travel back, because you really have transformed yourself. Beautiful. Okay. And then we have Spriggan, and this is Gossip and Rumor. So yep, that's just echoing exactly. So these are some energies that are going to be in and around you, but that is why it is okay to be the queen of the outsiders and to say that you are exactly where you need to be and to stay where you are at. So that is something too for the adventure. We're not asking you to come to these people and say like, hey, the way that you're speaking is wrong and I don't really agree with that. We're asking for you to just speak differently and lead by example is really the energy that's coming through. So right now, and maybe down the road, you'll give speeches and you'll give talks like these, but right now it is asking for you and your personal energy to just recognize maybe where those negative comments or arguments are coming from, and not to engage with them in the same manner, and to introduce a new energy to it. And by introducing that new energy, it's going to like throw everything a little bit off basis as it rebalances. And so that's kind of just what the Divine Feminine is really doing. And a big reason why this is coming through for us is because the Divine Femmes and the Divine Masculines, like everyone, is really being called to support the collective in understanding really what it means for there to be like love, communication, and just being empathetic and caring. Anyways, that's my personal belief. So especially if you're here, it probably is yours too. And so with that, it gets really hard not to play the game like they play it. But Spirit is like wanting you to understand that you are not playing a game. Like, so something interesting that you can kind of see is like you're kind of like in the parent stage, right? You are a queen, and these are like people who are still just trying to figure out how to play this certain game and understand aspects of life. But you've already learned so much about certain aspects of life, and you really want to teach those things. That's why you're on this adventure. But that's also why you're experiencing certain setbacks, because you're wanting, maybe the people that you're trying to talk to aren't open to it. So these, like, I'm really seeing like Hero's Journey come up again in the sense of like reanimated Drake, Spriggan, like these can be seen on a very mythical journey as like small little setbacks. And so Spirit is asking you to maybe use the gifts that you have gained to work with those rather than how you would have in the past. And that is how you're going to find your own personal resurrection. I know this is Griffin, but like, and we're not pulling more cards, but something that is like very much within this element is so much reincarnation, the cycle of birth and death and rebirth. And so a sense of like how you can become a phoenix and understanding that versus just being an ordinary bird. So definitely take that how it resonates. Let's go ahead and continue forward. Next, we have Tarot of the Divine for you guys. And so we have 8 of Wands. Okay, so I actually know this story. I think it's called actually the Rainbow Bird. It might be the Rainbow Crow, but it is a very interesting story though about how this bird essentially ends up burning its feathers in order to bring fire to those who need it. And they go through all these efforts, and there's a lot more to it. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because it's this sense of adventure, of coming back from what you've learned, but what you're handling maybe needs to be handled with care. Otherwise it could hurt you or those around you, is kind of what I'm hearing. So maybe you're into chaos magic or shadow magic, because those are typically like very internal things that people don't want to recognize. So they get triggered whenever someone close to the edge, such as the Queen of the Outsiders, gets to them on that. So yeah, it's just very interesting, just confirmation that like you are within this energy, this coming back energy, and just really rising up in order to support the collective. So it is still a warning not to do it at your own detriment, though. You do not need to become petty or mean. You do not need to listen to those rumors and gossip. You do not need to clear up those rumors and gossip is also the other thing I'm hearing. There's so much, like, everything that's associated with you, by the way, is like orange, fiery, red. So I'm really seeing that there's so much passion, and with that, you will be able to, like the sun, you will be able to clear and illuminate any misgivings that there are. And there is a sense of being asked to wait and be patient with this energy because you are learning to interact with it. So definitely giving yourself a lot of grace and understanding. Yeah, having love for yourself is going to be just as important as having love for those around you. So definitely take that how it resonates. Back to this Eight of Wands, though, it sounds like you're doing a lot of different things this coming week, though, and during this time period. So ultimately what I'm seeing with this is also some very creative projects. So coming up, okay, interesting. So I'm seeing that you probably are working on a creative project that is maybe taking a lot of energy from you, and you're feeling like you really, really need to get past certain points. I'm seeing like maybe your mind is supplying like maybe negative memories, and that's all part of your journey. So there is a certain sense of needing to work with those fears, that shame that you had previously, and how it's kind of carried with you into this point, even though now you've been transformed. So now it's time for you to transform that final element of you, because the rest of you is complete. So it's like this very interesting, like one had to transform before the other could. And yeah, but you're something that's coming through is like you've always been whole, though. So definitely take that. All right, we do have a lot more cards, so let's go ahead and just jump straight into the rest of them. And so, oh yeah, okay, so I don't normally read these reversed, but this one did come out reversed, and so it is the Five of Cups. So this is, normally a reverse card that is already negative sometimes can be seen as seeing the more shadowy sides of it, but what I'm getting from this card is that it's more of that, it's more of that you're kind of like diving into those shadowy regrets that you used to have, and you're really learning to understand and move forward past them. And so yeah, something very interesting right after the Five of Cups is typically the Six of Cups, where we're using our reflections from our past to see how far we have come. So what I'm seeing from Spirit is that this is just confirmation that you're within this energy right before you kind of have all of the clarification and relief, and like you're really within the flow in life. So it's very natural right now. You're kind of just in this moment of pause and struggle because five. Sorry, my mind was just thinking like, yeah, just a lot of fives is what I'm seeing. This literally is a five. So Spirit is just coming through saying like you are moving past this struggle, like you are in fact doing everything exactly as you're meant to. You're using your skills as you're meant to is also something that I'm hearing. And because maybe I'm hearing some of you might have been struggling with not supporting as many people as you would like to, and I definitely understand that. But ultimately Spirit is saying that you are being given this time in order to reflect and work through these. Like you're coming back to life is what I'm hearing. You are becoming, you are being rebirthed into the Maiden. So you have been the crone. Yeah, it's so very interesting. So we actually had the Divine Masculine who like started, when we first started these readings, started with that message of, hey, you need to become the student again. You've been the master. And we've been saying like how much the Divine Feminine is already the master. And now it's so interesting because they are starting to take that mantle of becoming the student. And it's almost as if you now are being encouraged that now that they have taken their mantle, their responsibility, and they're working through that. So you're still like, right? You're still like brand new at both of these, but now you're able to transform from the crone into the Maiden. And it is just this absolutely beautiful energy of trust, rebuilding between the connections and within yourself. And so there's also this sense of trusting within yourself. So what I would definitely say right now we're going to be experiencing, we have so many cards, but right now we're definitely going to be experiencing as a collective a lot of inner child work and bringing that out into the current world and what that looks like. So I'm seeing for like partners, you're going on dates where you're like, man, I haven't done this since I was a kid. For partners who have children, I'm seeing like your family dates are going to just be so great because you're going to all connect to that child side of you, and your child is going to feel like part of the family. Like if you're worried about becoming a blended family, or if there's been a lot of stress and tension, and like a lot of times that goes down to the children, I'm seeing that you guys will be able to like go take this for however you're seeing it, but I'm like seeing a beach trip where like you're able to go and like you guys just have fun, and like one of you has like never built sandcastles before and like never really do that, even though like maybe your kids have done that all the time. And so you just ask them and you're like, hey, will you, like, why don't you teach me how to do this? I've never done this. They will be so excited. Like, I kid you not, they are just, we're all still kids, right? And just like kids, we still wanted to be adults, and just like now we still struggle with being adults versus like having that childish side come out. And so that's always going to be a balance. It's just that we're always learning new information and how to work with that energy and becoming responsible. Anyway, so the reason why I'm bringing that up is because that will then give them the chance to like be the teacher, be the master, and like kind of learn them some new life lessons. And it like really helps bring together the whole family relationship in making it be like, hey, we are a unit. So sorry, I just kind of like went off point for that. So that message is definitely for someone here who is trying to work on blending their family, or not just blending family, but also maybe those who have been in separation or just fighting in their marriage or relationship and needed their family unit to come together. So very beautiful energy. I love beach trips, so I haven't been in so long. So I definitely think that would be a very fun idea. And that's just one example. I'm also seeing like finger painting is another example that is coming up. Ooh, like maybe maybe something to do is, we have so many cards to go through. And maybe something to do is to, if you're if you're redoing a room in your house, I am seeing that like something to do is like I'm seeing like the reason why you're doing this project is it's literally like the therapist was like, hey, there's a lot of bad memories in this room. Why not like redo it? Or like you read an article or a book where it said like that would really support it. And so like part of that is like changing the color and like painting it, getting new furniture, things like that. I'm hearing like if you're doing that within your home and you do have children, like make them a part of that process as well. So because that's going to be so important for them, and so important for them to like also just not feel like they're losing any parent too on either side. So because sometimes that can be a worry or a fear that because they're not used to connections changing so much in their life because they're young, right? So it'll be a great way to kind of introduce a comfort and stable way to introduce change. So very beautiful. Last thing I will say, we'll just bring that back to those who are like, I'm not anywhere in that. This is still you connecting to your inner child. So anything that you're like, I used to do that as a kid, I encourage you to either go find a class or just go work and just, redo your area and make sure that you are just like, what would I have wanted when I was a kid? Like, I don't know about some of you, but like how many times were you in a rental and you weren't allowed to paint your walls? Maybe that's a change that you need in your life, is taking over that control again. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue on. We have more tarot. And so we have the Seven of Cups. Okay, so this is all about the decisions are coming up. So Spirit is saying that there is a need for discernment. Yes, so this is echoing not just what I just said about like needing to be intentional about working with this relationship and how you guys want to move forward and integrating those inner childs together and the rest of your family, but also this is having discernment about the gossip, the rumors, about that petty meanness, like, and to recognize your own energy from someone else's. So I'm hearing like a lot of divine feminines here are going to be clairsentient. And I'm also hearing the divine masculine is working on that skill. So it may not be their best skill, but it also is something, well, I mean, it is very related to empathy. So that makes sense. So everyone's probably working on their empathy a little bit, but it's going to be so important that you recognize your own energy and your own emotions. And so that is discernment that is coming through. Another thing that is coming through is Spirit is confirming that it is your choice. So yes, there are options, there are things, there are interactions, experiences that are not meant for you. And Spirit is saying that you do know what that feels like, what those misgivings look like. And with that, I'm hearing, okay, sorry, there's I was just hearing you're definitely going to have whatever your strongest clair is, that's what's going to be the most supportive for you. So if you are not already like strengthening any your intuition in any way, then this is going to be something that you're going to want to look into. I'm going to be having a reading coming up, actually that will have a little ability exercises in it, so definitely stay tuned. But the other thing that is coming out for this, okay, there we go. The other thing that is coming out for this is that it's like your fate is here. So your fate is here. It is available to you, and you simply need to choose it. Like, it's not going to force itself upon you, is what I'm hearing. Like, you need to be able to choose your fate just as much as it chooses you. And for those of you who are in a partnership, this is going to be about that recommitment of saying, like, I just saw, definitely take this reference however you will, Sex in the City when, oh, spoilers, when Miranda and, oh, I'm so sorry, her husband are, I want to say it's Dave, are getting, or like separated, they're thinking about becoming divorced. Their therapist like recommends like meeting in a neutral place because they both have to come halfway, and it's like very symbolic in that sense. And there is something about that that is just a constant within the universe, because it allows, that's how you still allow the choice, that's how you still allow you to be able to commit to it and not feel like you were pushed into the situation, to say that, like, yes, I want this too. And so that's really what I'm seeing come forward with the Seven of Cups, is like, this is a moment of recommitment. It is interesting, normally we'd see that with Seven of Pentacles, because that's normally like, oh, time to harvest, but this literally is saying it's Seven of Cups. It's time for you to decide exactly what your treasure looks like within your heart and know it. Okay, so very nice, very nice. And I'm also hearing too, like, if you're like nervous, like, oh, I have no idea what that means, well, that's just more shadow work for you, right? But also I'm hearing like how much do we hate when it's like, oh, you'll know when you know? But Spirit is saying that you can trust yourself. So that's the lesson I actually want you to learn the most, right? Is that you can trust yourself. You can trust that feeling. You can trust that thought. You can trust yourself that you will make the right decision, because you have gained this level of discernment. This is again why you were able to transform from the crone into the maiden again, because you have that knowledge of the crone. You didn't just all of a sudden forget it. You didn't just all of a sudden forget your past. You didn't forget how people have treated you and how you have reacted. You have simply learned new ways. You have learned new perspectives. You have gained a higher perspective for everything. And so that's why you're able to see all Seven of the Cups. And so sometimes that can be overwhelming when you have more choices. There's so many studies about this. And so that's why Spirit is saying, like, no, you have learned how to focus your vision as well. And so you are just in this state of balance and understanding. And so, yes, you have this higher perspective. You can see all of those cups, but it is time for you to make sure that you're choosing the right cup that you want. And that's the important part, that it's the one you want, because you are so capable of choosing another cup and still making a successful life out of that. So, and that's why you have these options, because it's not just like one is meant for you, it's many are meant for you, but it's your choice which one you decide is meant for you. Okay, love that message. Let's go ahead and continue. We have one last for Tarot of the Divine. Okay, we have Five of Swords. Okay, so we already recognize the fact that we are in this moment of struggle. Five of Swords, very interesting. I'm not sure what this story is here. We have Anubis here and perhaps Cleopatra. I'm not sure. So maybe looking into Anubis or Cleopatra might be some significance for you, and understanding maybe more about the mythology just within the Egyptian gods too, or the history there. Anyways, so let's go ahead and move forward. So ultimately with the Five of Swords, something that I think is important to note, because a lot of times we see swords, and especially if we're in moments of struggle, we're just like, ugh, more bad news. And the Five of Swords, though, is very interesting because it's actually a win-lose. You win some, you lose some situation. So, right? So this is, again, that need of discernment. Like, what are you letting go intentionally, and recognizing the fact that you are letting those things. It's okay to also grieve that you are no longer taking those choices, but it is also so fantastic to celebrate the choices that you have made and the path that you are moving down. Okay? So like something I heard, like the very like simple, literal, this is a metaphor that you are meant to apply to your situation, because I actually don't think this metaphor will apply to many people. But say you are working in a business and you have the chance, like say, like you're working in a corporation and you have the chance to like move up and become a higher manager, and you've been doing really well, you like the product and everything, but you're just like, it doesn't really quite feel right, and like feels like something's missing. So you're like, you know what, I'm gonna decide to go out on my own. Like that is a different kind of decision that is still worth celebrating, no matter how scary it is, because there are certain things, certain risks, you lose certain comfortability, but you gain certain freedoms. So that's really what Spirit is wanting you to know with this Five of Swords. So again, I'm seeing some shadow work and understanding like exactly what it means to make this decision. And also there's a little bit of like reviewing the past. So it's like there within the echo of like, I'm hearing maybe you've had other past decisions where you've made similar choices, and it's Spirit saying like, no, look at how like those choices worked out for you. Why wouldn't this choice work out for you now? And again, that just having trust in yourself as you move into this. So I'm getting the sense that just like the Divine Masculine, we are mirrors, right? You didn't want to turn from master into student. And so now it's this also for anyone who is here for just balancing the energies. This is even more uncomfortable because it's both the Divine Masculine and Divine Feminine needing to be students in this time. And that can be scary because then it seems like no one is holding responsibility, but that is not the case because you are trusting yourself and you're also trusting the divine. And it's not going to be like that forever. I mean, this whole process is very cyclical. Most of the time, this is actually over within a couple months. And so this is, again, Spirit wanting you to understand exactly where the wins are versus the losses, and how bad are those actual losses, or were they necessary? Okay, so next we have our Wild Archetypes deck. We do have 4 for you, so we'll see if it comes out with the Inner Quest or not, but let's go ahead and jump in. We don't have the guidebook, so if you need to pause and screenshot the image, then that is for you, but we are not reading, we are just doing intuitively. Okay, so right away I have the vow. This is twofold, okay? Wow, okay, this is so interesting. So Christian faith coming up again. This is one of my favorite things. This is always from when I was a young child and I first heard of it. One of my favorite things about the Noah and the Ark story was actually the fact of the symbol of the dove. So a lot of people like say the symbol of the dove is a symbol of hope, but the symbol of the dove is not just of hope. It is more of promise. It is the fact that it was a vow saying, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. What I was saying was in regards to Noah's Ark, so the dove can be seen as a promise or a vow that like certain destructions will not happen. Like you can trust essentially that the world will not fall apart or be taken over again. And that can be like very personal when it comes to a vow. Like you are handing over a certain part of your world and saying like, can I trust you with this? And so this is twofold. Sorry, I just heard, so something to note is there is the other part of the story where some people think it's like the rainbow is a symbol of like the promise. For me, it's always been the dove. So if it's the rainbow, definitely take that how you will, but we're just here. Anyways, so something very interesting coming up for me about the vow is that this is less of a vow between you and your partner. Like, yes, for some of you, that is going to definitely be part of the archetype here. It is an archetype. It applies to so many situations within your life. But the overall message that I'm seeing that Spirit wants you to get from this is, what's the vow that you made to yourself? What's the vow that you made almost to the universe? But more, when I say the universe, I mean like however you view faith. Like, what was the vow that you made to your faith? Like, what was the promise that you made? That is faith, right? Is believing in a promise. Is it's just like all these words just really like work with each other, and I think we have really separated that. And so this is Spirit like coming through stating like, this is time to trust again in something more than just yourself. Oh no, sorry, this is time for you to trust in yourself and more. Yep, just a confirmation, a call that you can do that. Also a call that anything and everything that you have experienced is not something that you're going to experience again, and that you can trust in this moment of time, and you can trust that you have learned what you needed to. Again, it's really more about trusting the faith in yourself that you have implemented. Yeah, like, why do you interact with the world? Where did your faith come from? And then what was the vow? What was the promise that made you feel solid, right? You're in this 5 period. That means you've gone through the 4 period. That means you have built your foundations. It's just time to remember that. Okay, and so Now, then we have the flame. Very interesting. So with the flame coming out, yeah, this is interesting. It is literally so much about just how what I try to teach on this candle, wow, on this channel, is about the fact that like you can view your energy, your bright light, as a candle and really understand exactly how infinite it is. So like lux is the measurement of a candle flame, but when you really think about like how much brightness and light a candle flame gives, it is so, I think, inspiring, because you could have a very, very dark room and no matter what, you would still see the spot of light that a candle gives off. And there's just something very powerful about that. And so Spirit, this is kind of more of the reminder that this may be a gentle flame within you, but it is still a flame and it is still emitting such a bright, brilliant light. And you are learning how to turn that into a brilliant, brilliant fire. Even past the point I'm hearing, like, especially what we want to do here is you are helping others ignite. You're igniting not only yourself, but you're also helping others. Once you have your own candle lit, you are able to share that fire with others. So something too, discernment coming up, needing to know like those who want their candle lit versus those who do not. So just really understanding where your energy is at and how you can best express yourself in the world is kind of what I'm seeing you are learning. And something too, for the relationship connection, I'm really seeing like, it seems like some people have come back into reunion. So I'm very happy for you guys. Definitely pat on the back. Maybe understand that. Maybe that is part of your Five of Swords. Why did you make this commitment to come back, you know? And then like remember that certain vow. But something that is coming forward in regards to the flame, past the point of just possibly being like literal a twin flame connection. I mean, we are here, Divine Feminine is here deciding to make this connection come back again. I would take that as confirmation, because you would know, right, what your twin flame looks like. You would understand that because you have that level of discernment. That's why you've been waiting on this person, I'm hearing, because you already knew. Yeah, you just needed them to gain a little courage. But now it's interesting because now you're being asked to have a little courage to love a little bit more easily into the situation. And so, and with the flame, what I'm hearing is like there is a certain sense of rekindling that is happening. And so you guys are kind of building this fire together. So maybe something too I'm hearing is, yeah, there was a certain sense of like the promise was broken. And so there's this need to cleanse, just a lot of cleansing. So if we saw a lot of fire being associated with you. So I would take that too, if you are not working with the fire elemental, to go ahead and step into that energy and see exactly how you can really cleanse that space. So fire does not just to be like, the fire element does not just need to be seen as fire. Some people may scoff at this, but I would argue that you could argue that sunlight can be used as fire, meaning that you can use just natural lighting. So anything like a walk out in nature could be seen as cleansing, even though some people may say that's more elemental, but that is still you introducing a certain cleansing element from fire to be eclectic with your faith and your practice. Okay. And then something too I just heard is like quiet time. Ooh, maybe some romantic time with like candlelit dinner is coming through very hard, because I actually wasn't going to say that. So the other thing I was actually thinking is like aromatherapy, candles, just having like candles, like sharing a bath. There we go. That's why I couldn't think of the body of water. But sharing a bath with like lit candles around is something that I'm seeing come through. Also, something very interesting about that is like, for those of you who maybe have never done that as a romantic gesture, that is also an interesting like inner child moment if you really think about it. So I'll leave that there. Let's go ahead and move into the next archetype. And so we have the empty room. I absolutely love this based off of what we said earlier. So this 100% is actually just confirmation about like decorating decorating a space and bringing more life into it, bringing more of you into it. Ooh, something interesting I just heard. So maybe like some of you, especially either in separation, or maybe you're just finally moving in with your partner, right? New level of commitment, a new level of being a partner. And so with that, there's a sense of like needing to turn an empty room into a home. I mean, we kind of talked about that earlier, but this is like on a much more literal level I am seeing. So Interesting. Okay, so the other thing I'm seeing, so for some of you, it's literally going to be like you're moving into with a partner, you're like needing to create some space and like transmute it into our space is what I'm hearing. So it's not just like identifying yourself within it, it's creating an our space. Something else that is coming through. So for those of you who are like, I am not in any kind of partnership, I'm just balancing my own energies right now and wondering what I need. This is still something you need. So I'm hearing that there is a project that you're probably working on. Like if you're feeling very outside of yourself, it would be so important for you to do something within your house that is just for you. So I'm hearing like it's time to renovate. There's that word. Interesting. I could say it now. Renovate this space for you. And like, I'm really seeing like an office makeover is going to be so huge. Something too, I'm seeing, if you, yeah. Oh yeah. Especially if you started like going off on your own instead in a new business, like what a better way than to show that you were investing in yourself, that you're making a vow to yourself than doing an office makeover. And I'm not saying you have to be like, this is my dream office. I'm saying like get certain elements that make sense for you and your business. So if you are holding yourself back, like I'm seeing like an all or nothing mentality. If you are holding yourself back from that, from like making smart purchases that would just be an actual investment for your business, this is spirit coming through saying like, no, go ahead and do that. Like fit out your office in what makes sense for what you do for work. And then the other side too is it's so like, this is literally asking you to be intentional in creating a space for yourself as a divine masculine and divine feminine. So take that how you will. It's either going to space literally for both of your energies too. So like something I just heard for a single who's trying to balance those two energies. Let's say you're like an artist and you're like, I love the idea of an empty room and like being able to just like create whatever I want. And so you kind of want to maybe bring that element into there. And maybe you have a whiteboard that you could always draw on. And then that's a way that you like brought more creativity to a normally very organized space. And so that like helps you get through those like the administrative side of being an entrepreneur, which I feel like a lot of creatives are like, please do not talk to me about that when they first go into business, and it can become overwhelming. And then the other thing I'm hearing for like the other side, if your office is just like stark and like it's just like nothing but pens and paper, that was the first one where it's like very stark and you're like, I need more creativity, I don't have enough, then you would want to introduce the whiteboard for that. The other thing I was going to say is if it's like you have no organization and it is a complete mess and you're like, well, I don't really want to lose that element of me because I know where everything is in this chaos. Maybe it's just like actually writing a schedule and putting it up on the board. Maybe it's actually having something that is that level of organization to just take off that little edge and introduce a certain element of the divine masculine in being that more disciplined, organized self. So I feel like I gave 2 examples to help a creative person. I was really trying to find for those who are like not creative, and the one it's just like, no, they can just still use a whiteboard. So I apologize if I did not give you an example for that. Definitely comment below and I will help brainstorm with you. Okay, and so we do have another one for us, and so we have the Pilgrim. So something I want to note is that we did not get the inner quest because we have 2 tools, the flame and the vow. And but we do have the fact that like this is kind of where you're at mentally, is like you're needing to create this space, or this space has already been created and it's now time to like decorate and bring your energy into this space. And so this is kind of telling us who you are in this moment is the Pilgrim. So very interesting about this is the Pilgrim is twofold. So the Pilgrim is the person who lives in the village, is an active member within their community. The Pilgrim is also the person who leaves their village. Right. That's I can't say it. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. Sorry. We're going to move on. So, but these are typically the ones who will go on an adventure for a reason. And that is exactly who you are. And part of the hero's journey is the coming back. And so the Pilgrim does return to the village in order to give that energy back. And so Spirit is just kind of, again, coming in saying like, you're doing where you are at is perfectly right. And you are, you're making the right choices that you need to be, and you can trust yourself because you have put in this work, even if you don't feel as fantastic or extraordinary as you truly are, is what I'm hearing. So like, it's okay to feel like you are just a mere pilgrim because you are someone who has gone out into the world, and you have come back more than just a mere pilgrim. Even if it doesn't necessarily seem like it to you, the rest of the world is going to see that. And so that's again why the empty room is going to be so important, because how you would decorate that is going to be so different from someone who stayed in the village. And I'm also hearing like maybe part of the reason why you left and did this mission, maybe part of the reason why you started learning. Ooh, I just heard, especially for those divine masculine maybe listening in to this message right now, like part of the reason why you started learning this is because you made a certain vow to someone, and you're like, I'll do this for you, I'll do this for the family, I will do this. And so you went out into the world, and it changed you in unexpected ways. When I say you went out into the world, this is also for someone, quite a few people, is you didn't, it doesn't necessarily have to be, especially in current times, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you left the state you live in. It could just mean that you started hanging out with a new group of people. It could just mean that it forced you to learn new things. Maybe you just went back to school. So it's just this, it was more like I just heard something very interesting. Like for someone, it literally could have just been like you said, I'm going to start walking around my neighborhood once a day. And then from that, you actually now know all of your neighbors so much more. That is an interesting way to see the fact of like how you grew versus someone who maybe stayed inside the whole time. So take that how it resonates with you. I just want you to understand that your adventure doesn't need to be far or wide, just deep. I just heard ain't no mountain high enough, so definitely loving that. So coming back to the vows, and especially feeling that energy that there was this promise made where you were like, I will change. I like recognize that I need this change. And so you went and you were like, and you encouraged that change and you did it. And you got kind of more than you bargained with, but a beautiful more, to where you're like, now that you're coming back, you're first you struggled with like, how much do I want to come back? And then for those of you, you're like, and then for those of you who like never really left, you're like, how do I now express myself? And so Spirit is saying like you're on that moment where you are now learning how to do that. And I'm hearing like there's definitely like partnerships, allies, groups, and communities that you have gained through this that are going to be supporting you. And that's why you have this level of discernment. There might be still some gossip and rumor within those new communities that you gain, because they are human, right? We're all still human within this. And we also have certain emotions and communication breakdowns. So Spirit is just, again, kind of asking you to have that level of discernment and trust yourself, and trust yourself that you know what you're talking about just came through. So especially for anyone who maybe was working within a family and now is needing to expand past their family, this is Spirit saying like, this is something that you can do. And I'm seeing you do have the tools, and throughout this next week, you're really going to adopt a certain integrating method. So if you've been feeling disconnected, I am saying that is like ending. I'm also saying it's going to end whether or not you want it to, but that is part of like the vow. Like you kind of, if you're here within this reading, you kind of already recognize within yourself that these things are changing, and this is just Spirit like confirming it, and that there's any fear that you can just like shed that away. The other thing I want to bring up again about the flame actually is we talked about the fact that like you are this brilliant person who's just like, you shine with love and like as you radiate it. So like I can't stress enough, like this flame does come from within you, and like people are still benefiting from it even if they don't realize. And sometimes people, instead of seeing a flame lit, sometimes they say, instead of saying like, oh, I want that too, or like, how do I get that, and looking at themselves, they're like, why do they have that? How come I don't have it too? When in fact they have it, perfectly capable. So it's this very interesting energy. And again, that certain level of discernment of knowing like what's for you, what experiences are meant for you, and just you still continuing to exist within love, so that those who do have that feeling, they do have to meet you, right? They have to come closer to your bright light. They have to come closer to your love in order to interact with you. And that is also what I'm seeing too for any who are within that divine connection. That is also, you've stayed strong in this energy, and that is why the divine masculine, they had to go through their changes in order to come here. And so that's why there was that vow, that sense of change, because they were like, you're right, I did promise this for you, and so now I did that, and here I am. And so this beautiful just merging together coming up. Okay, so next we have some mindful messages. All right, we have edge of greatness. The universe is opening doors for me, bringing opportunities my way. I don't crumble at the edge of greatness. I take the opportunities that come and walk through the doors with confidence. Okay. We're echoing again the fact that you are on that edge. We're echoing again the fact that you are full of greatness and you are just right there for it. And it's just a 5 moment. It's just some difficulties facing, but you guys are moving through it beautifully. Okay. And then we have a couple more. Now we have magic. There is magic and miracles all around me. Where others see coincidence, I see evidence of life synchronicities. I love filling life with wonder and magic. It's way more fun that way. Okay, so that is just you and your bright flame, right? Everything that you were doing, it is just working out. Something very interesting that occurred to me the other day is I thought I only had 1 incense stick left, and I was waiting to use it for a certain ritual, but I was really wanting to cleanse my energy, and I just went ahead and I still went and checked it out, and there was a second one there, and I was just like, this is kind of a little miracle for me right now. And I just sat there and recognized that for that moment. And so that is something just kind of to know about yourself too, like that you are this powerful manifester, and that spirit is also just doing these little things. Ooh, I just hear, I feel like there's so many romantic surprises happening. So that's so interesting because I did not pick that up from the Divine Masculine readings, but here within Divine Feminine, I am just so much is coming through that there is just this really beautiful raw, like abandonment coming through, where it's like you're not being romantic with just yourself or your partner, you're being romantic with like everyone around you, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, like if you want to throw a party, I'm hearing like it's a great time to do it. Obviously be safe, follow however you need to, but I'm hearing that it would be like there would you would use your level of discernment, and there would end up being like no gossip or rumors, and it would just be like this brilliant sorry, the term I wanted to say is this brilliant bonfire, because like each of you would be your own lit torch, and all together. Sorry. Okay. So definitely take that however it resonates, but I'm just really seeing like you are coming into this beautiful connection and recognizing who you are and what you're worth and what you're capable of. Okay. And so now we have mirror. In order to change my life outside, I need to change inside. Once I am open to this change, my exterior really will begin to mirror those new shifts. That is just talking again about those small changes that you might have made. What was that vow that you made? Because that is how this change came here. That 5 of Swords. What were the choices that you made to get to this point? Why did you choose to go this way versus another way? That was 7 of Cups. Why did you choose this path instead of this other path that you could have taken? So I absolutely love all of this. It's just all coming together. All right, so now for our last deck, we have our self-care. So we did have quite a few come out for this, so you may want to try 1 or more of these. You may only really like 1 of them, or you may be down to do all of them in one day. So we will just see what comes out. And so first we have Be Still. Okay. This is so funny. So okay, this is interesting. This is for those of you who are very active and like don't want to really listen to this message, maybe playing this at like 2 times speed and just like, I really got to go, I don't have enough time for anything. This is going to be so important for you, because this is going to be important for you and your relationships too, is to introduce stillness. So if you introduce stillness for yourself, you will be able to find and prioritize your time more efficiently in order to have those moments of pause and stillness. So I'm hearing like maybe you're not resting enough. Oh, I just feel like maybe having a nap time with like you and your family would be so cute. Like put on a movie that you know all of you will fall asleep to kind of situation. And just like a mini sleepover is kind of like what I heard, but it's literally just you and your family. Like how cute. So yeah, definitely we have some big family people here in this reading. So and for those of you who are like just individual, this is actually an interesting practice that can introduce a mirror change into your life. So as you, like if you're like, wow, I really need my life to calm down, you first need to calm down. So I'll leave that there. And then we have deep breathing. This is something you can work on while being still or in order to become still. So very beautiful. This also is, often the first lesson you have to learn. Oh, okay, yeah, this actually is going to really resonate for people. So if often the first lesson you learn when you are going through any kind of ascension or spirituality practice, or if you're just learning how to handle like anxiety or any like mental disorders, you are typically taught how to take a pause and deep breathe. And so Spirit is asking you to remember that exercise. So like some of you may actually have had like an actual vision where you had like a guide, a guru teach you how to do deep breath. I'm hearing like maybe some of you like you took a yoga class and it literally was just about deep breathing, and it was the oddest thing you've ever experienced, and it's the only yoga class you've ever taken kind of situation. Like somewhere part of your life at the very beginning of these choices, because we're really seeing the fact that like your choices are kind of catching up with you, and this sense of like wondering like what was missed and if you've made the right choice. And so spirit is asking you to understand, recommit to the decisions that you have made, because you do have that level of discernment. I'm also getting, so something too that kind of has gotten a little bit lost within this reading is this is still a divine feminine reading, and for balancing that side. And so what I'm seeing is if you identify yourself as a divine feminine, you are so very balanced, and that's why we're getting these couple energy coming through more so. Because it is just like I've seen like you've been in that like divine masculine side, so the divine feminine side is like just very similar energies of like, you know, you are who you are and you're doing it and you recognize it, and this is just more confirmation. But sometimes you panic because you don't let yourself feel the emotions, and so this is now asking you to do it, especially because right now you're going through a time of change and transformation, a time where you need to trust. And literally they're not saying you need to trust anyone outside of yourself. Like this is for everyone here. So for those of you who are like, well, this is about me and my partner, this is still for you. You do not need to trust anyone outside of yourself, because if you yourself are making the decision to stay in the relationship, then of course you can trust that relationship because you trust yourself enough. So it's very much like you and more, right? So you're trusting yourself more first, and because of that, you're able to trust others. Yeah, because you're listening to your intuition, you're listening to your discerning thoughts, your discerning feelings, and you're just taking that moment to be still and deep breathe. Beautiful. Okay. And so next we have abundance planning. Okay. I love this. This is the most literal card. I think all of these actually were very literal. Interesting that we didn't really have everything kind of was very literal for you. So it sounds like you were, excuse my French, tired of the shit and you weren't taking it anymore. So good for you. So with that, abundance planning. So I'm hearing this is twofold. So for some of you, you just like your budgets have gotten away from you, and it's like time to just like deep dive into that again. And that's just beautiful, great time to like be non-judgmental. I'm hearing too, for almost everyone here, you're going through a change. So there is a certain sense that you are needing to reimagine your budget is going to be so important. So for some of you, you need to reimagine it with how it is just currently. And then something else I'm hearing is for some of you who are working on your dreams, on a career or gaining more abundance in your life, then you want to create almost a dream abundance planning, and not like you're literally going to use like scripting and automatic writing in this creation. So first create a budget for your current life and what it really looks like. Recognize maybe how you feel about that, and then create a budget that mirrors it how you would want it to look like in the future. And you may want to put a date on it. You may want to say in a year, I would like my budget to reflect this. You may want to say in 5 years, I want this budget to reflect this. And then though, the next step that you have to take is say, well, what steps can I take today to change that? Or what steps would need to be taken to change that? So you might be like, oh, I want to have this certain amount of income, but maybe you're just a waitress. And so it's like, well, I would need to get a higher paying job. Oh, well, right now that might mean I have to go back to school. And then maybe you're like, that's not really an option. So you're like, well, maybe I don't need a higher paying job. Maybe I can look into doing something on my own. Like, what am I good at? And so now you're like, maybe now it's the time to slowly build my business is something I'm hearing. So just very interesting, like starting energies and believing in yourself and understanding the steps you need to take to move forward. The other thing coming through, of course, for those who are here about the couple is, in fact, you got to replan your budget together. I think this is literally a requirement. I think in relationships it should be, where you talk together and you budget your life together. So this, if your finances are separate, even more so better. That way you're just having that open communication about what you're spending. No, you don't have to tell them the surprise birthday present that you got them, but you might say like, I made a budget for this much for your birthday, and maybe that, and then they don't need to know more. Maybe you don't even want to share that amount. Maybe you're just like, and then maybe you're like, this week I'm going to just talk to you about what I'm doing, but I'm not going to show you the full numbers because, your birthday and I want to surprise you completely. you know, like they know their birthday's coming. You can have that open communication. I hope they're not surprised that you get them a gift on their birthday and made them feel special. Like if this is your true flame partnership, y'all need to be communicating and loving each other a lot more regularly. And so, yeah. Anyways, also with abundance planning, something that is coming through is for, this wasn't really talked about, but it seems like maybe for some of you, there actually might be abundance planning around like family needs. So expanding family, maybe I'm also hearing there might have been some loss in the family, and so there is a certain amount of abundance planning that comes with that. And so I really encourage you to look at it as abundance planning, because you're planning to be abundant. That's all you're doing, and just having a fun time with that. And so also, if it seems like you have a lot to do, you're starting from scratch day one, that's okay. Take it one step at a time. Then there you go. That is your abundance planning. You're like, I'm planning to be abundant. What do I need to change today? Maybe I should learn how to make a budget. Great. That's day one. And maybe in a year, you're like using your budget every single month. That's so important. Sorry, something that just came through. It's so important to give yourself grace that you're not going to do something every single day. Like I know they talk about like how long it takes to build a habit, but it also takes, I would say it takes more than just determination and willpower. Like sometimes you're like, I don't really want to do that, especially with abundance planning, which isn't always a daily thing that you do. So there's a certain sense of needing to understand how you work within the world and how you can bring more of your abundance planning to be a regular activity that you enjoy. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and leave that there. And then we just have one more card for you guys. And we have create art. So I absolutely love this. So this is going to just help you get out of your head. If you're in a relationship, this is going to help both of you just reconnect with each other in a creative space. I'm hearing too, if both of you have insecurities, I feel like a lot of people become insecure when they're creating art. Some people might be like, this is my element. This is just what I do. I know how to express my emotions. I would encourage you, if that's the way you view it, to do a form of art that kind of makes you feel a little insecure, because then that's how you're going to bring a little bit more empathy into the situation for you and your partner, and helping and being like, hey, this is scary and new for me too. And then I'm hearing it's going to help like lower those boundaries a little bit. Oh, it's something too I just heard for the divine masculines, like peeking in, wondering like how they can support the divine feminines more, is like actually engaging and saying like, hey, what if we did some artwork together right now? Wouldn't that be fun? And I like doing a paint night on YouTube is like something like just romantic surprises just coming through. And it really is just this beautiful time to like connect and understand not only yourself but also your partnership more. So I would encourage this for any relationship in your life that you're like feeling some kind of discourse through, to go ahead and like invite them. Like I did say about that party, so maybe you want to throw like just bring it back to paint night. Like it's so easy just seeing this with painting on it. But maybe you want to have like a nail night, like like maybe you just got that dip powder and you've never done it before, and so like you invite the girls over, and of course you're all sanitary and you all take care of what you need to, but you do a new practice that none of you have ever done before. And it's just like this very interesting thing where you do have to talk to each other and like be very open of like, oh wow, that hurt my fingernail just now, or like, wow, that is bumpy, and like just needing to be very honest about like the mistakes and the trials that you guys are going through. And trying something new is just a beautiful way to do that naturally. And then maybe that can encourage it, like, hey, you know, this really reminded me of how I felt during this time. I'm seeing it's probably going to be a much more able, organic way where it's just going to be like this moment of pause where like I'm hearing like either you're able to like say, forgive me for not being able to connect with you in this way before. I hope we can do this in the future. And then it's going to like open up like why you weren't able to before and how you will be able to in the future. So again, this certain sense of discernment and level of connection and communication coming through. So divine feminines, I'm going to say right there that this is the big turnaround that you kind of were asking for within the previous weeks, and you really were wanting to trust the universe that this was coming. And this is spirit saying like, this is it. You're on the edge of greatness. Like the time is now, but there is still a little bit of fear within you, and that is a-okay because you're going through a transformation. So just remember to deep breathe and to just really let yourself come into existence. With that, my divine femmes, I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. Thank you for being here. If this resonated with you, please do not forget to like and subscribe. Comment below, especially if you needed any additional support, and I will be there for you in addition to our community. With that, blessed be, and I'll definitely see you guys next time.